Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Randy. Thanks for coming back for part two of this two-part series of what to do with your plant or your orchid after it blooms. Now, this is a Phalaenopsis plant, which is what most of us have. And so I just want to talk to you about what to do with it after it blooms. Now, in the first part, we talked about what to do with your spike. I gave you 3 options and explained to you what to do and why you should do that with your spike. And in this one, I am going to talk to you about and show you how to totally repot your plant. So let's get straight into this so it's not too long. Now, as you can see, it's gone. It's the bloom's gone. The stem, I let the stem die off on its own. I chose to cut it above the 3rd node to see if I could either get a spike or a kiki from here, and I didn't. As you can see, it actually just died all the way back. So I'm going to repot this. This is in the grower's Sphagnum Moss, and so I want to get rid of this and get it into some really good bark, or whatever. So I'm going to pop this out. And if for you guys that want to know which plant this is the one that I used in this video. And it was a rescue, and it was a peach color, and it was dying off. And so I knew that one wasn't going to last too long. And so here we go. So the first thing I am going to do is cut this stalk off. There goes the spike. I didn't want to go all the way too close, so I just went fairly close. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to go just a little closer if I can. All right, there you go. So the first thing, cut the spike off. Spike's gone. Now, I am just going to softly, I'm going to just use the hole at the bottom and press this out. And as you can see, it's just all compacted here. As you can see, this is another thing too, guys. I cut holes in my pots so they can get a little bit more air than they usually do. So let's toss that out the way. And now we have this here. And I am going to grab one of my chopsticks, and I'm going to start to work this mess out. How about if I do this in here? So I'm just going to kind of work this out, get some air between these roots, and we are going to get this out and examine the roots. So I'm going to fast forward this so you don't have to sit up and watch this whole process. All right, so let's get back to this. So as you can see, I got all of that sphagnum moss off. And really quick, I just want to go over a few things of what we're going to need. And I should have done this in the beginning, and I apologize. So to get this done, first and foremost, obviously, we need a plant, and we need some bark, fir bark mixture. This is fir bark with a little bit of sphagnum moss mixed into it. And you are going to need some sphagnum moss, and this is fresh sphagnum moss, just came out the package, and I've been soaking this for about 15-20 minutes. And you are going to need a pot. Now, as you can see, this is a recycled pot from one of the big nurseries, but what I did, since it was so it just closed off, and as you can see, it has this really cool thing here that helps get circulation to your roots, or air circulation, but I went on and punched some holes in here with a Dremel. So you also need a pot. So, and some scissors to cut off your stem and possibly some roots. So let's get into this. I'm looking here, and there's not a lot to cut off. See, that's a little mushy. That's a little mushy there. So I'm going to go on and cut that off. All right, and what else? That. I mentioned this before. I just want to show you the difference between what's really the root. That just came off by itself. I don't want to put that in there. Let's see here. So that is the root there. That's the actual root, and this is the outer cover. It's like a sponge that absorbs the water and feeds the root. So that's your actual root there. So, but that one's a little weathered, so I'm gonna cut that off, and that off. Let's see here. And let's see here. Let's get rid of that. All right, so everything else looks pretty good. I think I got one or two more here that I want to get off. And I can see that this was the second spike. There's the first spike from this plant right there. So this was the second, maybe even the third spike. I think I might see 3 spikes. So yeah, this one was at the nursery for a while. And like I said, there, if you can see that, there is a new root coming out of there. So we got these all nice and clean. And so I'm going to put this to the side here for a second. Dust this off. Now I am going to bring this here. Now you guys know I like to use my styrofoam. Again, a lot of people did not like that from the first video, but their plant, they can do what they want. My plant, I can do what I want. So I like to put this at the bottom, basically just to create a drainage layer. Now, one question I did get asked, is this the dissolvable ones? No, these are not dissolvable. These are the ones that just are, I think they're made of oil or something like that, and they don't dissolve. So actually, I think that's going to be enough there. I don't want to block those holes. So I'm just going to drop that there. And now I am going to take some of my bigger pieces of bark and just drop them in the bottom here. Hopefully I got enough. All right, so we're just going to work more of the bigger pieces of bark into the cup here at the bottom. And that's so we can create more aeration. There we go. And now I am going to take my plant and I am going to drop my plant. I'm going to try to spread the roots around some. All right, and I want it to, wow, that's perfect. I just want it to sit right about there. So I am going to use my chopstick and just kind of move the roots around where I want them. Here we go. Just kind of move those around where I want them. And I'm going to get it centered right here in the cup. And now I am going to take my bark and just drop that in there like that. Sorry, I'm trying to go fast, so you don't have to watch too much of this. So I'm going to put some in, but I'm going to take my chopstick and just kind of work it down in between there. It doesn't have to be too full, but we do want some structure and we want some in the middle. So I'm just going to kind of work it down in between the roots there, really easily like that. And now, as you can see, it's kind of got its own structure and it's standing there. And now I am going to work this. Just keep working it down, keep working it down, keep working it down. So this is going to give me a nice air layer down at the bottom that's going to get a lot of air and a lot of water drainage. And so the idea of these roots getting root rot is going to be fairly slim. And so I'm just going to start to work this up to the top with some of the smaller stuff here. Wow, this is perfect. So there we go. So we got most of the medium in there. Now, as you can see, let's see here, we're going to get this flower here. So the crown is right at the top here. I like to get it as deep because, as you know, it's going to start to kick out more roots. So I got the crown right at the top. I got it nice and centered. Man, I couldn't have done that any better, I don't think. There we go. And now I am going to take some chopsticks because I don't want to get too wet. And I am just going to put a layer. Noodles, ramen, love ramen. And I'm going to put a layer of sphagnum moss on top here. There you go. So what I'm going to do, what this does is it will put a layer, so the fir bark will float. And so what this is going to do is put a nice layer of sphagnum moss on here. And this will stay crunchy and it'll kind of form to the pot. And when this forms to the pot, it will stop the fir bark from floating out when we soak water, because as you guys know, I like to soak water and it will float out. And so what this will do is just stop it from floating out. Now you can actually plant, as you can see, the plant came out of this stuff. You can plant your whole plant in this, and I'll do a planting with 100% sphagnum moss pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that. But let's see here. So we got that in place, and that is literally pretty much how you repot your plant. What did that take? Maybe 5 minutes outside of the prep time. Now, this leaf here, I fully expect to turn yellow and die off. So if you replant and you get a bottom leaf that starts to die off, don't be scared. We're watching the top 2 or 3 leaves for the most part in the very beginning. So yeah, that is it. And that's smushed down. All right, so now what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to take this. All right, so I am just going to grab some water here, and we do have chlorine in our water. So if you have chlorine in your water, just grab a bottle, fill it up, leave some room for it to get a little bit of air, and just shake it every once in a while and just let it sit for a day or two, and that chlorine will actually just dissipate out. So I'm just going to fill this up quite a ways. Here we go. And then I'm just going to take this plant and set it in there to soak. And I'm going to let it soak for about probably 3 or 4 hours, because that way it will allow that bark to just soak up all that water and get nicely hydrated. And that's pretty much the way I do my plants. I'll let them soak for quite a while. So it just gets really hydrated. With that bark, you'll see as soon as I take it out, it'll start to run out, and there's hardly no moisture in there. So I'm going to do that. And so yeah, that is pretty much how we take care of our plants once they come out of bloom. Remember, if you didn't watch part 1, watch part 1, because we deal with how you really want to work with your spikes and your options with your spikes. And then of course part 2, which you just watched, has to do with the replanting of the plant. Now that this plant is replanted, I have some news. Our winner of the last contest, the 100,000 view anticipate or predict that bloom contest winner, Megan McIntyre, this is your plant. And so I promised her a plant. I told her I needed to get it replanted and get it in some good bark and everything before I sent it to her. And so this is going to be the winner's plant. So this will be out to her really soon. If you want to try to win a plant, or, I need to get rid of some plants because I have quite a few around here. So I am going to be trying to get rid of some plants, and they will go to the people who are part of our community over at the Black Orchid channel, or the Black Orchid Project channel, and involved in Instagram and things like that. I will be giving away and shipping out some of the rescue plants. So if you'd like to win a plant, make sure that you just kind of stay engaged, stay involved. Definitely make sure you subscribe. If nothing else, if you learned something from this video, please give me a like. And of course, like I always say, I like to hear the comments and questions and things like that. So that is it for this video. I hope you learned a lot. I hope it helps your plants and make you a little more comfortable about keeping orchids. So as always, be safe. More importantly, be kind. Never give up on them. And until next time, peace.